That's a giant. That's a giant.
Got you! Woo! That's what we're talking about. Scott Canterbury shoots out the lights. Scott Canterbury joins a league of legends, becoming a Toyota Bassmaster Angler of the Year.
You know, before going full-time into the fishing industry, you know, I was mainly a construction guy. I've done a little bit of everything. You know, I did ironwork and millwright work out at U.S. Steel for 7 years. My dad and my whole family I came from a family of ironworkers, so it sort of led me into that, and I just didn't like it. You know, I grew up doing home construction, you know, working with uncles that built houses and stuff, so I sort of went that way. I got out of the millwrighting and the steel work and went into more just home construction. Started a little business remodeling and framing houses and stuff, and did that for several years, and was fishing locally all the time, and had a lot of success fishing locally, and just started to venture out a little bit more. And that's when it got touchy. You know, I mean, when I had a construction company and had 6 or 7 guys working and would go for a week, be gone, that's when it made it tough. I couldn't hardly fish for thinking about the job at home. And I just made a change. You know, I went to work for Plum One. B.A.S.S was a good friend of mine, and I ran the outside crew. We did all the plumbing, you know, on houses. Is all we were doing was residential construction at that time, and really learned that trade and really enjoyed it. I like plumbing, and was able to, when I did go fish a Bass Open or a Costa event or whatever I was going to fish for a week, I wasn't worried about the job at home, and it just made it a lot easier. So I did that for about 6 or 7 years, and was able to venture out and fish a little bit more away from the house. And one year, Barry and I decided to travel and fish the Central Divisions, and I ended up finishing second in the Costa's Central Division. You know, I'd already qualified before in the South and didn't do it. And then when I traveled, got away from the house and fished lakes that I'd never been to, ended up finishing second that year. That's sort of when I thought I could do it. You know, I didn't know, but you know, I was young, just married, had a family, had a 3 or 4 year old daughter, and really couldn't afford it at that time. And, you know, the entry fees weren't near what they are today, but, you know, we got bills to pay, and I just couldn't afford it at that time. And I had Barry was one of them that really pushed me into it, saying, man, you need to try it, because I'd qualified again. And that's when I done it, you know, made that leap and had some help. Barry helped me out, and went and fished the FLW Tour. You know, and it was not easy. The first tournament of the year, we used to have 202 guys, and the first tournament of the year, I finished like 180th. I zeroed the first day I ever fished a professional event. Zero, never got a bite. And I was getting bit during practice, and I never got a bite, but I changed what I was doing. And the second day, I went out and just went fishing and caught 10 pounds. And it took 16 pounds for 2 days to get a $10,000 check. So I knew I messed up. And then the second event, I finished second place and won $50,000. So it sort of changed really quick from, man, don't think I need to be doing this, to this is really fun and exciting. You know, when you get to fish all 4 days, you know, almost win the tournament. It was really a good event. I stayed in second most of that tournament. I was doing pretty good plumbing. I was able to make a living. My wife was working, and we were doing okay at that time. The one argument that we really had, I mean, she talks about it all the time, is we hadn't been married a month. And I brought some papers home, and I said, hey, I need you to sign these. And what is it? I said, I'm going to buy me a boat. And I didn't have a boat, you know, and I mean, that was a pretty bad argument. Probably one of the worst arguments we've had until this day, really and truly, but it was a good decision. You know, that first couple of years that I went FLW, 2008, I won Rookie of the Year. You know, I finished second in the second tournament I ever finished. Ended up 2 weeks later, I finished third, won $90,000 in a 2 week span. you know, and I don't know, I was making decent money as a plumber, but, you know, I was still working full-time plumbing when I was back here. Go fish a tournament one week, and the next week I was digging ditches and putting pipe in the ground. And I did that for 4 years. I worked for Plum One, and I kept doing that. I'd travel to a tournament, come home and work, glue pipe together. Travel to a tournament, and Barry or Plum One gave me that off time to chase my dream. And that's where it all began, you know. Without that, you couldn't do it. I mean, I was still working and knew that I had a job and I could pay my bills, but I was able to chase that dream. And then finally, after about 3 years of doing both things full time, it just became reality, and I was able to get enough sponsors and stuff that I didn't have to pay that, you know, now it's $50,000 a year in entry fees and stuff. I was able to build up enough sponsors. It took me a few years to do that. It wasn't like it was given to me or anything. I had to work full time and fish full time. And I did that for 4 years, and once I got enough sponsors established, I was able just to say, hey, I'm going to do this full time. I'm going to fish the Bass Opens. I'm going to fish the FLW. I'm going to fish the coasters. I'm just going to go fishing. I mean, and there was months in the spring that I would fish tournaments back to back to back to back, you know, 4 or 5 tournaments. I'd fish 33 out of 35 days sometimes, and those other 3 days I'd be traveling from one state to another going to a tournament. So, you know, when you think about chasing that as a lifetime change, as I wanted to go change and become a full-time fisherman, there was a lot of prayers and a lot of time spent, you know, whether you needed to do it or not, or this is what I needed to be doing. And, you know, like I said, I had a full-time job. I was able to keep working. And I think it was about 4 years into it, and things were a little bit different back then. We didn't have the rules that we have now. And I never did go pre-fish tournaments. It was a weird deal. But we had a tournament at Gunnersville, and I said, I'm going to go up there before it goes off limits. And when I went, it blew my mind. Like, half the field was there. Half the field was there. And me and Dixie and Taylor was up there on a weekend, and half the field was there. And I see them all riding around, fishing, some of them with guides, some of them, you know, by themselves, but some of them with guides riding around and looking. And I said, man, I've been going about it all wrong. I just been showing up for 3 days of practice, fishing a tournament. And these guys are like doing it wide open all the time, working really hard at it, and getting as much help as you could, you know, at that time. You can't do that now, but they were doing that. And I'd almost give it up that year. That tournament, I told Dixie, I said, man, it was one of my worst years. I said, if I don't get a check in this last tournament, I'm done with it. I said, I'm just going to go back to working. And, you know, the first day I struggled and I didn't catch them good. And the second day I went and I changed what I was doing, and I caught them really good, 22 pounds or something. They paid 50 places $10,000, and I tied for 50th with Larry Nixon, of all people. The general, one of the best there's ever been, you know. And I tied with him, and I'll never forget it. The tiebreaker was who caught the heaviest one-day bag. And my big bag that second day, I got $10,000, and he didn't get a check. And we had talked about it a bunch. I said if I didn't get a check, that was going to be it. And it's been good ever since. I mean, I just thought that the Lord did that and put me in that situation, and it just eased it for me. It eased my decision. It eased my mind, and I didn't have to worry about it anymore. There's so many things that lead you to believe that, you know, there's a higher power looking out for you, and you're doing what you need to be doing. You know, the lifestyle of an elite angler, you know, we're full-time truck drivers, part-time fishermen, or sometimes we say. But I'm on the road a lot. I mean, growing up, I missed things with my daughter. I was able to get, you know, most things, whether I had to drive all night or what I had to do to get home if she had something special, I tried to be there. Whether it was dance or basketball growing up, I helped coach, or whatever it was, I was wanting to be there for my family. But, you know, there's a lot of things you miss, like I said. But we also have an off season. When I'm done fishing for the year, whether it be July or August, from August till 1st of February, you know, that's half a year just about that we're able to be at home all the time. I mean, I'm at home morning, evening, whatever. I take daughter to school, pick her up from school, go get her and take her to lunch, whatever, or cook dinner. I mean, I love cooking for the family when I'm at home. And it's even during our fishing season, I may be gone for 2 weeks and then home for 2 or 3 weeks. So I thought that the time that you had at home was really, you was able to 100% devote that to family time more than you could if you was working a 9 to 5 and you came home exhausted, wore out, or if you work night shift. I mean, I've done that, and you never see anybody. You come home in the morning, go to bed. When they're coming home, you're leaving. I've done that in the steel industry, work night shift. So I just really considered it a blessing to be able to do what I do for a living. In fishing, or whether it be fishing the local trail here at Logan Martin, the night tournaments that we used to fish every Friday night, or if I was fishing the Bassmasters or whatever, you always want to come out on top, just like in NASCAR. You want to win the point series. And to win Angler of the Year was definitely an exclamation point. And, that's something that'll never be taken away, never can be. I've won Angler of the Year in the BFLs, and then I've won it in just about everything that I've ever competed in as far as fishing. And you set your goals that high, because that's the top of the top. I mean, when you can win Angler of the Year on the Bassmaster Elite Series, you've really accomplished something, and you've made a career out of it, But, my goals are always set that high, and it's not a standard. It's just something that you want to try to achieve. And once you did achieve it, it's definitely an exclamation mark, and something that I'll be shooting for every year that I compete, When I think that there's no chance of making that, I guess that's when it'd be time to give it up.